Good evening. Welcome to the Napoleon Memoirs. So glad to have you here. This is where we obsess about Napoleon. It's where I obsess about Napoleon in every way I can imagine. I have such an important issue going on in my life, and I wanted to share it with you. And it's that I think I've found Napoleon. Actually, he found me. It's so shocking. But I feel that I have to find out if this is true. And this is something that can't really be totally proven, but I can make my case. I can show patterns. I can show that my story is completely congruent. There are no plot holes in my story. And my story has obviously been going my entire life. But the story I'm talking about is the hero's journey that I've been doing since September 2014. I was so incredibly fed up with the direction that I saw my country going in and my world's going in that I kind of threw up my hands and asked God to take over, take the wheel, and I will listen, I will obey. I'll do anything that I'm told to do spiritually, and hope I'm listening to the right side. And I have done my best to listen to the right side. I wasn't always sure that I was. It's a it's a nebulous world out there in the spirit realm. So we don't always know what's happening, and I don't always know what's happening, and I get confused as well. So I have to really go over things and make my case to myself so I know what I'm doing. And during the course of this project, my main guide became Napoleon, and I was I was fighting for God and Jesus and even Prince, bizarrely, but I love Prince. I'm not gonna hide that. I think he's incredible, and I think he is still spiritually alive. And respect always. So during the course of this project, I came to realize or believe, but I believe realized that my twin flame, my other half, is Napoleon, and wherever I am or wherever he is, we're always connected, even if I'm here and he's in the spirit realm. So that was my understanding that my twin flame was existing spiritually. And I asked so many times if Napoleon was incarnate right now, and I never really heard that he was. Uh, so I wanted to believe that. And then, as I've said many times, I used to be a used to be and am again a huge fan of Elvis Costello. And these were my twin obsessions. I was obsessed with Napoleon and him, twin. So it was so easy for me to see, A, that this artist was dropping hints left and right that he had been Napoleon. I could see it. I'm like, why would he bring up Napoleon so much? Why would he call himself Napoleon? Why would he put Napoleon on his records? Why would he, as I've put up a couple songs from his album When I Was Cruel, why would he have bees on the cover of his album? It's just all these things. And it's a lot more than that. It's in his lyrics. He's letting you know he's some kind of monarch. He lets you know if you can watch him. Anyway, I like to call him Coan, which is King of America, Napoleon Dynamite. I think Napoleon Dynamite was a name that's been messed with. And I think that is his name. I think he is Napoleon Dynamite. But then people think of the movie, and I do think he's a monarch. So I like to reference the album King of America because I don't know what's going on in his mind, but I think that's a great album, and I think he would be a great king, and I think he is a king, and we just need to get ourselves right again as a human race and start looking out for ourselves and understanding that the PR trick army and the central banker, the puppet masters are a huge threat to our future, and they work day and night to destroy the lives of people like me and Cohen. And I know that because I've lived it. And I've even last night there were these like almost like gunshot sounds outside my house last night. So they keep it up. They like to terrorize me. And as long as they don't get caught, they have no reason to stop, right? As long as they're out there in the dark doing their terrorism, they can do it all they want. So the name of the game is the criminals need to start getting caught. And if they don't start getting caught, then you can kiss me goodbye. And probably him too, because they are out to destroy us. There's no question about it. I say pretty strong things, but I don't hear anybody refuting me because there's no counter argument for the things I'm saying. I've been putting up so much footage of the person I like to call Cohen, but it is Elvis Costello. And we can see throughout his career the themes that he has been setting forth in his music and in his interviews. He is saying that he is in captivity, that spies are after him, that they're sending him these girls. Not a question. These are not debatable things. They're doing all of these things to trip him up and run him into the ground. How do I know that? Because he says it and it's in his songs. How do I know they're doing this? Because they've done these things to me. So I know. I know that once you're on the central banker by way of deception club list, they will plot and think day and night about how to finagle a person into house arrest. For example, I would like to explain that the by way of deception club has had a huge, 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 huge impact on my life because now that I'm being uh, basically terrorized and intimidating at my house, um, now I'm realizing how important it is to not let bought politicians infringe on our constitutional rights because all you have to do if you get on the by way of deception club list is have them start coming to your house and then well they have all the guns and they've bought the justice system so they can get away with anything they want. They can basically get away with murder and they can carry any weapons they want. And they have probably some hotline they can call and they'll get out of any consequences. But if I leave the house with a gun to protect myself only, not to maraud and exploit and destroy lives, but to protect myself, then I'm the criminal because the Constitution's being violated in my state of New York. And I think it's so interesting how the Constitution was written. The Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, shall not be infringed. And I can't leave the house with a gun to protect myself from organized crime that has obviously bought the government under which I live. So, what I've been trying to say about Cohen is he's saying he's captured. He's been saying it for decades. He's saying it's horrible, but a lot of the musicians are saying they've been captured, and it's in their songs. The truth is in their songs, and that's why I'm so amazed that I've let Cohen take over my project telepathically. I have never met him. I think the proof that he has taken over my project telepathically is the change in the project. I'm really not doing things the way I used to. I was doing Napoleon Scholarship. Now I'm doing all music. And I understand why that is such a clever way to reach people because we all love music and we're all so attracted to it. It's something that really unites us. And I love music. Everybody, I think, who's human loves music. So I really agree with that idea. I think it's fantastic. Anyway, I'm so happy with the changes that have happened in my project, and I love seeing what he's done with my project. But the shocking thing here is that he has expressed to me telepathically and in his songs, it's not all in my head, that he can't talk to me, that he's been blacklisted for me, and he really does want to talk to me. And, I keep citing the song, I can't say her name, but that's not the only one where he's saying, I really want to talk to you, but I can't. So to me, he's letting me know he's Napoleon and my twin flame. And am I hearing that right? Am I deluded? I'm not deluded, because this is not what I would even ask for. I'm happy about it, but it's not a dream I have. I was happy with my perception of the situation. I didn't need to get involved in messy situations that but I'm happy to be involved. If he's in a messy situation, then I'm also in a messy situation, and I want to share any problems that he has with him, and I want to help in any way possible. And I truly, truly, truly believe that this is my twin flame Napoleon. And I'm just trying to prove it mostly to myself, but hopefully to you also. And this is the most important thing, because my project is about Napoleon. My life is about Napoleon. He's he is the focus of my thoughts. He's the focus of my life. I live for him. So if this is Napoleon, I better be right. I better find out, and he's most welcome to do whatever he wants with my project if he's Napoleon. But if he's not Napoleon, he's not. So it's that simple. And I don't see how he has to be Napoleon, because he's running it in such a similar manner to how Napoleon ran it. He interacts with me in such a similar way. It's different because it's Napoleon's spirit and his personality. Napoleon's personality is very specific. He's just really intense, and he's very obsessive, and he's always thinking, he's always coming up with plans. That's just the way he is. He's very, I hesitate to use the word scheming, but he's very scheming. And I love to participate in his schemes, and I love to hear about them, and I love to play a role in them, because I know that ultimately he has a good objectives and he wants to help people, and I think he's a very good kind of schemer. But that's Napoleon. If it's Napoleon, he's scheming and he's dreaming. That's Napoleon. So I'm pretty sure this is Napoleon. So I'm going to keep reading these letters. Tonight it's going to be a letter from Napoleon to his stepdaughter Hortense. I'm always drumming home the point that I believe that Napoleon was twin flames with his stepdaughter, and then I was her. And we were I when I was her, and I have to learn about it, because I do remember being her, but I don't remember everything. But I can see what people said about them from all the memoirs, and please listen to the memoirs and find out who Hortense was and who Napoleon was. And then you'll see that I'm completely her and he's completely Napoleon. It's, we're very weird. We're very odd, unusual people, both of us. And she just was all about music and culture and writing and art. And she was a painter. And she was completely, totally, unequivocally obsessed with Napoleon. Her entire life was Napoleon. And it was torture for her to see him with, other women, and it's horrible. It's just horrible when you can't be with the person that you love and they're with other people. It's horrible. And that's so much of like the pain of this situation that I've been talking about, of being a fan of this person, like just like loving him so much. And then I have to see him living this sort of life that's so distasteful to me. And I love him, but I can never see him. I can never talk to him. He's a huge celebrity. I'm a nobody, and I can't ever talk to him. And I'm just like another fan trying to talk to him, but there's all these feelings, and it really did have this effect on me where I became incredibly hostile to him. And then he was maneuvered into looking like the biggest trader ever. He's not the biggest trader ever, but he did look like he. I don't think he looks like it now, but back when I did my supposed expose on him, it was looking really bad. What I could dig up on him in about 2 seconds was horrific. So this didn't just happen in a day. This was designed for him. And a lot of plotting had to happen because if you know who he really is, and you don't even have to believe me, you can just look at his media throughout the years. He has been consistent. He is a populist. He does care about people. He is kind and warm and tender. He is all of that, but he's had to survive and he did not come from money. Not really. And his country was crumbling around him, just like all of our countries have been crumbling around us. That is by design. Our countries are crumbling around us because they are being designed to crumble around us. So the more they turn the screws on us, the more difficult decisions we have to make to survive in a world where only one group gets all the money and everybody else has to wonder whether they're going to survive or not. So then we all become much more prone to making deals with the magic money machine owners. And that, one way or another, is all of our stories. What have we done to survive in a world where it's just so difficult to make it? And we have to find some way to get money, and money is being controlled by dark occult terrorists. And that is what they are. That's a radical thing to say, but you're not going to find the internet up in arms tomorrow about it because that's the facts. Is every single one of them like that? Probably not. But generally, this is a dark occult financial system, and everything's coming out of it. There's so much deception and trickery and crime. And why do they send people to my house? Why do they send thugs to my house? To the extent that even a police car came to my house to ward them off. And bless that man. I don't know if it's a man, but I do have angels like that. I'm so grateful for that. But this is to protect that scam. The global financial system is a scam. And you won't hear barons or anybody running an article tomorrow saying it isn't. Because I do know about finance. I've had to learn about money to survive. The system is a scam, and everyone who knows about finance knows that it is a giant Ponzi scheme. Just go on Stock Twits and watch them talk about the stocks that they're going to trade. They're constantly saying it's a Ponzi scheme. They say, this Ponzi's got a Ponzi. It is insane. If you just scratch the surface of how money is functioning, it's a complete, total scam. And the people who understand it are pulling their hair out about it. And they know sooner or later this bubble, and this is a bubble. It's beyond a bubble because it's a brainwashing bubble. When people realize that everything's been like stolen from them. So basically, they take our time and our resources and our souls and everything that's precious to us. And then they give us these like digital numbers for it, GoFundMe accounts for it. They give us these pieces of money with secret society symbols on it. They give us trash for the best that we have, for the best years of our life, for all of our hopes and dreams, for everything that we love. We give it to them, and then they give us secret society paper or PayPal numbers. That's what this is all about. And a lot of people sell their souls for uh, PayPal numbers or GoFundMe numbers. It's just little numbers on the screen, but it does buy things. And I understand. I understand we all need money to live, but I just want to say one more time, please look in your heart find out what's in your heart to do to help save us, because we need to change. We need to be good and strong and honest and generous. And we're not going to beat them by anything but rising above them. There's only one way out, and that's for us basically to ascend. We have to rise above. There's no other way. We can't really sink to their level. That's what they want. They win when we do that. Anyway, that's enough ranting for tonight. But I'm going to read this letter from Napoleon to Hortense. It gets a little worse between them because, oh, guess why? They've got all these terrible banker people swirling around them, ruining their lives. So they did the same thing to Napoleon and Hortense, and they did absolutely destroy their lives. And they're trying to destroy my life, and they're trying to destroy Cohen's life. And they're actually doing a pretty good job, because I'm under house arrest because I'm being intimidated, and I can't defend myself because the government in my state has been subverted, and they're not respecting the Constitution. Well, who bought the politicians that subverted the laws in my state? I'm just going to guess who bought them. Because look at the wonderful advantage that the organized criminals with their wonderful banking system have created. Now I'm under house arrest because I can't leave the house with a gun, and I'm not safe to leave the house. And on top of that, they created this story that healthy people have to take Russian roulette liquids in their veins that kill their mother, or else they're, I don't know, house arrest. I'm under house arrest because I'm supposed to take something that killed my mother. Obviously killed my mother. So they double got me. Isn't that clever? And no one can catch them because they did it to the puppet politicians and the people that are intimidated. So this whole organized crime system affects all of us. So if Cohen has been captured by organized crime involving the financiers, because it's all connected, unfortunately, it's happened to all of us. So I really don't want to single him out. And we're all in the same boat. And that's what's so important for us to remember. We can point fingers at each other, but we live under a dark occult global theocracy where it's extremely difficult to survive without making some kind of like crushing compromise to get money. Whereas they can just whip it up, just whip it up from the magic box where they invented this financial system. Anyway, so here it is, a letter from Napoleon to Hortense. I can't believe how much I rant. Here it goes. My dear. It's embarrassing a little bit. All right, here it goes. My dear little girl, I was glad to get your letter. You know how fond I am of you, how much I've always admired you, and how anxious I am to know that you are enjoying yourself and surrounded by the pleasures and pastimes that are suitable to your age. Give Napoleon a big kiss for me. Try to keep Louis good-tempered and less solemn. He has the qualities of a man of 50. He should try to have the high spirits and good humor of a man of 25. Goodbye. There's such a lot to do. I hope you will be here before I leave. Napoleon. Okay, so how much I've always admired you. This is his stepdaughter. She's 13 years younger than him. This is Napoleon. You know how much I've always admired you. Okay, Napoleon does not say anything like that much. How anxious I am to know that you're enjoying the pastimes. This is not the way Napoleon usually is, not anxious to see someone happy. He's madly in love with her. And then he's kind of disrespecting her husband. It's I don't even know what to do about that one. So, all right, let's go into Cohen's memoirs. So, last we left off, his mother, Lillian Ablett, was very feisty, and she worked at a fancy department store in the music section. And it sounds like there was a bit of a sexual harassment situation at her work, and she had to do what she had to do to survive, just like everybody else. And he said she was doing smuggling, and but that's how it is. You know, we all kind of have to do awful things to live under this criminal theocracy. And they have been engineering the destruction of our nations, including England. And I don't want to see England go down. I don't want to see America go down. I don't want to see anybody go down. We can save ourselves. I'm going to have to say this, but I have shown repeatedly, I believe, that the secret societies have been engineering us into World War III. And it's been really obvious to me for a long time that they really want the biggest war ever, so they can wipe a lot of us out. And then once we're gone, obviously they can take our stuff. So that's what it's all about. And these world wars are planned and scripted, and they have to do a lot of things. The by way of deception club and the secret societies and the central bankers who have gifted themselves the ability to conjure up money out of thin air. And, you know, we're gifting that to them by allowing this to continue in this way. We have every reason to unite. So, our countries are being destroyed on purpose, and Agenda 21 shows you uh, the plan. That's to have a very empty, beautiful world full of parks, a little country club for them, so they can just have this world to themselves, not be so worried about populism or uprisings or slave rebellions or anything, because they'll just have everything and most of the people will be gone. You can see that in the Georgia Guidestones. They have a beautiful dream of having this world all to themselves. And as long as they can just have that magic money machine and just bribe all of these people and then put all of those bribed and blackmailed and seduced and threatened people into positions of authority so they can pass these Auschwitz type laws on us. I have to take an injection that killed my mother. Who's going to avenge my mother's death? My mother was murdered. These people are being murdered. And now I'm supposed to go be murdered to do somebody a favor. How does it work? If you take it, it's heroic and it's for others or something. This story never made sense for a second. I don't know how people fell for it. I know how, because TV's really hypnotic and they control it, and they rolled it out everywhere. So they put a little television in everybody's hands, the smartphones. And now everybody's attached to this television, and this little television tells them things, and people believe it. Yeah. Anyway, so Cohen is at a point in his life where he's going to have to figure out how to support himself. He doesn't have a trust fund or anything like that. So he's very worried about how he is going to make it through life. His education has been sabotaged. His he doesn't even really have much of a, you know, he has his nana, but he doesn't really have siblings. His father's kind of not around. So he's in a tight spot, just like everybody else. And obviously, he made difficult choices, and those were the best choices that he could make at that time. I get that. And then because he was so defiant, but he was so defiant because he has the spirit of Napoleon. I don't think he really has a choice about acting the way he does. Like they like kind of tie him up, and then he breaks out. I mean, we've been basically studying him for 5 months, for 4 or 5 months. We're just like studying him, finding out everything about him. And you can see they like tie him up and he busts out. And they tie him up and he busts out. It happens over and over and over again. You can see what they do to him. And I hope he busts out this time and stays out. But for that to happen, we need to unite. And if he is Napoleon, he's our leader. That's why I call him King of America. He is our leader. He is the one who knows what to do. That's why they've been trying to destroy his life. That's why they're after both of us. So please protect both of us if you want leaders who actually care about you. And we both do know about money. So don't think we don't. We know about money. We know how money works. It's not that complicated. It requires cooperation. That's what it requires. It requires mutually beneficial interests. If you will trade the currency that I am issuing, let me know, give me a feedback. I will send you more jewelry. Okay? I will do everything within my capacity to see peer to peer trading between us. Why? Because we need to get free. We can't live like this anymore. I'm happy to do charity. I'm happy to do things on me as long as we're moving in the right direction towards freedom. And now I really want Cohen free. I want him free. Okay? And everyone, please understand most of us are just not free. So when somebody's saying something uh, odd, they might have a gun to their head. There might be a gun to their children's head. They might have all kinds of things going on. So, and the person putting the gun to their head wants that person to look bad. Let's not get mad at each other. Let's get mad at the ones who are destroying our lives, the By Way of Deception Club, the secret societies at the top, and everybody knows exactly who I'm talking about, left and right. Okay? I have been laying out my case for years. I know who's after me. I know who's after Cohen. I know how they operate. Okay? They know. I know. They are very much inside YouTube. And but they can't get caught. So appreciate that. We are out in the open and they can't get caught. If they get caught, they're done because they all did 9/11. 9/11 is them. It is a very specific group that did 9/11. And the ones that did 9/11 did a lot of other stuff too. So remember that when they're reaching out that claw for you, they did 9/11. They shouldn't be amongst us. They did 9/11. Those are the people who are after us. Okay. I went through Victor Ostrowski with a fine tooth comb to show that the patterns that have been thrown at me, that I've been talking about consistently for years, are exactly the patterns that we saw in Victor Ostrowski. That was an incredible book. I already knew, believe me. I wouldn't have even gone there if I hadn't already known exactly who my enemies are. So that's why I went right for that book, because there's no question who's destroying our lives and why they're doing it. They're doing it for money, and they're doing it because they want this world for themselves. They're special and we're not. And we're this huge threat to them. We're always like this close to figuring them out. They do everything through deception. There's always a ticking clock with them. They always feel like they're going to get caught. It's because they are about to get caught. That's why they have to get so aggressive with us and just wear us down, destroy our lives. This is all on purpose. We all have the same enemies. They do focus a little harder on me and Cohen, and I seriously wonder for how long they've known that we're like Bonapartes. I didn't even know, you know? So how do they know? Or do they know? There's so many questions here. We have to answer them. And I hope you'll think about them and look within and see what you come up with, because that could be a really interesting journey for you. What's going on? Because what we're being told is not true. So we're going to have to find out the truth within ourselves, from each other, learn through patterns, congruence. Okay. nothing they put out is congruent. It can't be because it's lies. Lies are not congruent. But when I tell you a story, no matter how bizarre, how many unicorns and rainbows are in it, it's congruent. It's no unicorns, obviously, but it is rainbows. So my story is always congruent. I'm not always right, but my story's always congruent. I'm right a lot, though. Anyway, so now we're going to get back into Cohen's memoirs. After 3 years at Rushworth's, Lillian took a job at a rival store on Parker Street off Clayton Square. As a small boy, I remember the square being filled with flower stalls, a taxi stand, and containing the JC Cinema, which offered a continuous program of cartoons. It was a perfect place. Later, the JC became an art cinema, showing such titles as Street of Shame and The Subject is Sex, before mutating again into an X rated cinema and eventually into the Shrine of the Most Blessed Sacrament. Back in the late 40s, the scene was somewhat different. The shop in which Lilia now worked was called Bennett's, a smaller operation that attracted musicians on their break from tea dances at recess, a fancy restaurant and bakery with a ballroom on the first floor. Needless to say, these musicians never bought anything and only wanted to have my ma'am audition records for them. So Sol Bennett would periodically chase these deadbeats out of the shop. However, word eventually got around that Lillian was the girl in Bennett's who knows about jazz, and that is how my parents met, across the counter of a record shop. My father had just returned from his national service in Egypt with the RAF and had started to play trumpet in the Merseyside clubs. Ross McManus and his quintet were sometimes billed as coming direct from their engagements in Paris and London, when they had yet to cross Mersey from the British Legion Hall on Park Road East, Birkenhead, to achieve the dizzying heights of playing a cellar in Liverpool. Ross would perch on the stairs below Mr. Bennett's office in yellow socks and a second-hand American sports jacket. He and his friends all wanted to be Americans. They even started playing baseball in Birkenhead Park in a team called the Bidston Indians, and took to standing around in wire-rimmed sunglasses and old USAAF flying jackets with a cartoon Indian painted on the back. One of the gang changed his name to the more Yankee sounding handle of Zeke, so I suppose Ronald McManus got off lightly when he decided to go by his third given name of Ross. He'd roll out his plans for the future until my mother ran out of new releases to spin, or Mr. Bennett had him ejected from the shop. Eventually, he persuaded Lillian to sing at band rehearsals, as his vocalist could never get there in time from her day job at Littlewood's Pools. Lillian knew all the songs, even though she never had the confidence to sing in public. Ross started to lead the Bop City All-Stars in evenings that offered Rocking with Ross at any venue that would have them. My mother would collect a small entrance fee that barely covered the band's costs, while the patrons often had to smuggle in their own alcohol if the hall lacked a license. Not everyone was so thrilled about what they were playing. A trumpet player from the Mississippi Band, a popular traditional jazz group, punched Ross for belligerently pestering him for a loan of his mouthpiece in order to play this weird new music. Lillian found it equally difficult to persuade Mr. Bennet to stock obscure items on the understanding that there was a small and probably penniless pool of potential buyers. One of her customers was absolutely determined to hear the revolutionary new recordings of Lenny Tristano and Lee Konitz, discs that had not yet been issued in England. In order to record directly from America, it was prohibitively expensive due to the levy of import taxes. So Lillian took matters into her own hands. She was friendly with a young man named Norman Milne, who sang part-time in clubs around town. He was working as a merchant seaman until he could make his living in music. So when she heard he was shipping out for New York, my mother gave him £5 of her own money and the details of the Tristano Konitz records. Norman must have smuggled them back into Liverpool in his suitcase. But then Norman doesn't sound like the name of anyone responsible for sneaking dutiable items past the customs and excise officer. My mother's ingenuity and her seafaring pal kept her customers supplied with rare and unavailable music, and Norman, the vocalizing merchant seaman, went on to win a singing contest at Radio City Music Hall during one of his working passages to New York, and emboldened by this, took up a full-time career in show business. He changed his name to Michael Holliday and became a popular recording artist in the easygoing style of Bing Crosby. He had UK hits with The Yellow Rose of Texas and 16 Tons, and later sang the theme song to Jerry Anderson's marionette western series, Four Feather Falls. In 1958, he had his first #1 record with The Story of My Life, a song by Burt Bacharach and Hal David. One morning in 1963, my mother and I were listening to Jack DiManio on the home service when the death of Michael Holliday was announced. My mom gasped and perhaps even stifled some tears. My dad was still living with us then. He was sleeping off whatever he had been up to after leaving work the night before. When it came time to wake him, I carelessly blurted out the news, having no way to appreciate the coded implications of the report. The BBC said that the singer suffered from stage fright and had had a nervous breakdown. I had no idea what those terms meant, just that my parents were upset by the news. It was not until I was much older that I became aware of the secrets a man might have been obliged to keep in those days. 40 years later, I invited Lee Konitz to come to New York studio to play on a track for an album of lost and found love songs called North. He added a beautiful alto saxophone solo on the coda of my song. Someone took the words away. At the end of the session, I told Lee about my mother smuggling his records into England and asked if he would sign and dedicate the lead sheet to her. With characteristically terse economy, he wrote, "Lillian, thanks, Lee Konitz." Oh my goodness. It's incredible. Sensitive. So sensitive. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to my endless ranting. I appreciate it so much. Hope you have a very